Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review of The Flash. Season 3, Episode 23, Finish Line, the Season 3 finale. Holy shit. One, it met my expectations. Things played out how I proceeded, at least parts of it, and then also it exceeded my expectations. To the point where it's like, basically, let's get into it. The episode continues off from where the last episode left off, is where Barry is cradling Iris's dead body. Joe is breaking down. HR shows up at the roof to meet with Joe, and quote unquote HR addresses him as dad, and quote unquote Iris addresses him as a BA, and just like almost everybody predicted, HR used his face changing technology to swipe places with Iris, and there was even a flashback that the the spear, the spear, for lack of better terms, that Barry was stabbed with back in episode 15. HR used it and because like it's attracted to Savitar's armor like a magnet, he uses the track. HR used it in the flashback shows. HR uses to track it back to Savitar's lair and found Iris was being held captive while I guess like Savitar and Killer Frost was examining the latter's armor, and of course the spear reattached to the armor, alerting them to their presence, and then HR quickly used his face changing technology to swap their appearances, and so Iris, as HR was attacked by Killer Frost, knocked to the ground, and HR as Iris was saying, "I'm the one you want, take me instead," and that's how they were able to switch places. And Tracy Rance there breaking down, saying, and HR saying, "I couldn't be the coward, I had to make this right," and even going as far as saying, please give Cisco a message for you later, find out later, is that Cisco is the one who gave him the strength to be able to go through with this. And even HR before his last dying breath to say, now go stop Savitar. And then we have the Killer Frost fighting vibe in the forest. Killer Frost gets the upper hand. Savitar had grabbed the Speed Force bazooka, saying they need him to help him ascend to becoming a god. And then, of course, his memories are adjusting to the change in the timeline. Savitar realizes that Iris survived and HR had switched places, and now he's living on borrowed time. It's only a matter of time before the paradox the ripple effect catches up with him, and he's erased from existence. So now he has to enact Plan B, which is to capture Cisco and have him recalibrate the Speed Force bazooka to have him like splice himself, or I guess fragment himself throughout time, so it's like he becomes some kind of god, and become part of time, and I guess like splice himself and fragment him, and I guess become part of history from the Big Bang till the end of time. I guess I don't completely get the concept, but. And Cisco thinks like when Savitar's going to use his like vibrating hand, Cisco gets smug. Is like, oh what, you're gonna do it, or you're gonna reverse flash me? And you find out that he's going to threaten to kill Killer Frost / Caitlin, especially given his new memories that everybody else is back at Star Labs. They go to the Time Ball. They see Iris West Allen on the headline for Barry disappearing in 2024, which means her future's back. The future's back on track. And Julian was absent from the last episode because he was working with Caitlin's mother to develop a cure to use some kind of serum that uses metahuman gene therapy that would like rid Caitlin of her powers and bring her back to the fold. And Barry decides that he's gonna try to reason with Savitar and appeal to him by showing up at his lair and talking about a childhood memory about how his parents tried to take him to a science fair, but the car broke down. They had to watch fireworks, and is able to get through to reason with Savitar, and he brings it back to Star Labs, and they're going to try to help him. And I think Barry and Iris are the ones that are most willing to help him. And Barry even mentions that something Snart told him, and don't give up your ideals. Basically, don't give up your ideals. The Flash should stay a hero, and that's why they try to work with Savitar, even though like Tracy and Joe and Julian are reluctant to work with him, giving all of his actions and giving that he killed HR. It even takes Barry having to go and get Harry from Earth 2 to try to talk to Tracy into helping Savitar. And Savitar, like, they're walking around in the lab, or at least a part of the lab, where in episode 21 they tried to wipe Barry's short-term memory. And he talks about how, like, oh, this is where you develop the cerebral technology to use on Clifford Defoe. And Barry and Iris ask about who he is, and he's like, oh, you haven't gotten to him yet. And even Savitar's lamenting that is like, okay, how can you help me? And Barry and Iris are like, well, we haven't thought that far ahead of yet. And he thinks about how, well, okay, you guys are gonna get married. Like, I'm gonna have all the memories of Savitar's gonna have all the memories of Barry proposing to Iris and walking down the aisle, to live happily ever after. But it's like he won't get to live that because, like, how is he going to fit into their inner circle because he's a time remnant? And it's because of that he ends up, they ends up turning down their chance to redeem himself, and the energy from the Philosopher's Stone. And even as soon as he ends up leaving, and then the energy from the Philosopher's Stone that I guess he presumably releases ends up like just trashing Star Labs. And he goes back to Caitlin and Cisco, saying they're ready to use the Speed Force bazooka, and convinces Killer Frost to finish off Cisco. But then Gypsy, who sensed that Cisco was in danger, shows up and opens a breach that brings them back to Barry and Iris' apartment, and they try to discuss a game plan how to take down Savitar. And Savitar shows up in like some forest, I guess, like where his acolytes were there to worship him, and open a Savitar zipping around, opening up a wormhole, and he convinces Caitlin to use a recalibrated Speed Force bazooka to splice and fragment himself throughout all of time. But beforehand, because he knew that he anticipated the Speed Force was going to have a problem with speedsters, tampering with time, he anticipated that the Black Flash was going to show up. And at first you think, like, I thought he was going to help take down Savitar, but it turns out that he needed Caitlin Frost to freeze the Black Flash, that he ends up like shattering into like all these icicles, and even Caitlin saying, see you later, Hunter. And whether or not this is going to be permanent or not, time will tell. Is considering Barry was able to destroy him when he was in the Speed Force, but since he's out of the Speed Force, it's not going to make a difference. But anyway, it turns out that when Savitar is being blasted with the Speed Force bazooka and trying to enact his plan to ascend to godhood, it turns out the plan backfires, and it ends up being, as Cisco and everybody, the rest of Team Flash show up, ends up being a skeleton key, which ends up freeing Jay Garrick from the Speed Force. And Wally shows up, and so it becomes this like all-out battle where it's like it's Cisco and Gypsy versus Killer Frost, and then all the speedsters versus Savitar, and it eventually leads to Barry like vibrating through Savitar's armor and forcing Savitar out of his armor, and to the point where it's like all like the blue lights and outlines of the armor changes the color red now that Barry's the one in the armor. And now he brings out the spear and is about to have like Savitar at his mercy, and he says, and Savitar, even gloating Barry into killing him, is saying that you kill me, you become me, either way. And then, but of course, Barry, being, decides to just use his vibrating ability to destroy the armor completely and tells Savitar, I'll never move into the darkness to become you. He walks over to his loved ones, and for some, like an idiot, but like he doesn't try to, he knocks out Savitar out of the armor, but then Savitar tries to come up from behind him, and then what's probably the most like karmic thing to happen all season, he shot, they it's sort of like it's something that comes full circle, which is like, the rival tried to attack a speedster or Barry, but he was shot in the back by Joe in the Flashpoint timeline. And I thought, Joe did the same exact thing, but it was Iris who had the gun in her hand and shot Savitar dead, and saying like, all this time you're trying to save me, I guess I'm going to end up saving you, and then his body like disintegrates and gets erased from existence. And so, Iris gives a eulogy at a private ceremony for HR's burial. Caitlin shows up there. She seems to be acting more like herself. She doesn't have like, the digital, I don't know, I guess like the digital echo in her voice that, the indicates Killer Frost is in control. And it turns out she didn't take the cure. And she says that she's not Killer Frost, but she's not, Caitlin Snow anymore, and she needs to go on a journey of self-discovery and, introspection, if that's for lack of better terms, which is why she doesn't take the cure, and she ends up, going off to parts unknown, and, Barry and Iris are back home celebrating, and Barry uses a super speed to go mail out all the invitations to their wedding, and then all of a sudden there's this like huge like storm that's causing earthquakes and destroying Central City, and the team realizes that because Savitar is no longer occupying the Speed Force prison, that the Speed Force is becoming unstable, and now all the energy from the Speed Force and now destroying Central City is in danger of destroying the planet. And Barry realizes that it needs an occupant in order to prevent the energies from destroying everything. And the Speed Force showing up as Nor Allen comes to take Barry Allen. And Barry parts ways, and naturally Iris is the most heartbroken out of the whole group about Barry leaving to be going to the Speed Force. And Barry says, "You know what? This all started because I created Flashpoint. This is my penance for it. I got to make up for this." And so he goes into this. He kisses Iris, parts ways with Harry, Joe, Wally, and Julian, Cisco, Gypsy, Harry, everybody, and he's taken to the Speed. And the last image is how he's like taken to the Speed Force, and the storm stops, and like I said, Iris is the most heartbroken in tears that they finally got a happy ending, and this basically just went up in smoke. And this is the thing, like things play. I mean, certain things play out the way I expected to. Like how the whole Savitar thing was dealt, how the whole issue with Savitar was dealt with. That subverted my expectations. But HR swapping place, sacrificing himself to save Iris. Barry being forced to go into the Speed Force prison. I mean, sadly, that was. The HR's death and Barry's sacrifice, that was stuff that was like leaked online like a month ago by paparazzi on YouTube and social media and all that other stuff. And so that I kind of started coming, but it still kind of packed an emotional punch. And I'm kind of beside myself because for like the longest time, I felt like for most of season 3, I felt like it was the most frustrating season of the Flash to watch, to the point where I felt like it was the weakest season, and I felt like it became victim of the season 3 curse that that Arrow did, where it seemed like the writers had become lazy and complacent with the writing and the storytelling. The difference between Arrow's third season, the Flash's third season, is that the latter, I think, was able to end on a high note. And like these last couple episodes, with Barry being, Perry's time remnant being revealed to be Savitar, I actually got more emotionally invested in Savitar, and I felt like these last 4 episodes are actually pretty strong, and I don't know. I don't even know what to make of this season, to be honest. I mean, it kind of needs I kind of need time to like take it all in and see how it compares. Season 3. I mean, it's definitely better than like the season 2 finale, and how it compares to the season 1 finale. I say it's a close second. Like I said, just because things played out how I predicted they would, and whether it's just from theorizing or just from social media or paparazzi exposing how it's going to play out, it was kind of a funny thing. But I don't know. So far, like Legends of Tomorrow ended strong, Supergirl ended strong, The Flash ended strong. Now it's just a matter of Arrow's finale is tomorrow. Now it's just a matter of time to see how that plays out. But you know what? They're all ending pretty strong on a high note. But I guess at the end of the day, what do you guys think of the Flash season finale? What do you think of season 3? How do you think it compared to previous seasons? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys soon. I'll upload my Arrow review tomorrow. Take care.